Hey, welcome to another episode of Project 222. Audience, you're in for a treat today. Bringing to you somebody that has lived the college athletic experience and has been a coach and is currently around the college athletic environment firsthand. So I want to introduce Derrick Pearson, and I want to read a little bit about DP, as we call him. He brings a real unique brand of energy to his current role now as a sports radio host in Lincoln, Nebraska. And he's got 30 years experience in managing people, leadership, coaching, just really high level athletes, high level executives. So it's important that we get his perspective today. And again, like we talk about every time on this project that we're doing, 222 comes right out of 2 Timothy 2:2, where it says, take what I have taught you, teach it to faithful men so that they can teach others also. And you can see 2,000 years ago, discipleship, mentorship, coaching was around, right? So this is about pouring in and investing in others, ex-athletes for current athletes. And Derrick, man, he has been all over major cities in his career, radio, just television, managing, writing, high school coaching. He's been Washington, D.C., Charlotte, Los Angeles, Houston, Salt Lake City, Atlanta. This guy's currently in Lincoln, Nebraska, in the heart of Husker country. We love Big Red, by the way.
Thank
And
you.
so also, he has helped establish Fat Guy Charities in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's an NFL charity he's going to talk a little bit about. Developed a ministry called LovePrints, a national mentor program that promotes loving and learning through sports. Excuse me. And most recently, we've got to mention this huge project he just completed, a best-selling author of a book called The Impact of Influence. Derrick Pearson, DP, welcome to the show.
John, thanks for having me, brother. It's good to have the opportunity to sit and chop it up with you.
Yeah, man. I think it's going to be good. We know some mutual people from the Houston area, and we were joking off air about how the master connector is not LinkedIn, but it's chipped in. It's Chip Baker, Houston, Texas, Chip Baker, and he was a part of this project. Maybe you could talk a little just for a second to let the audience relate to you about this project, the impact of influence with you and Chip.
I met Chip again while I was living in Houston, and a mutual friend said, "Okay, you're two kindred spirits. Do you mind getting together?" First time I met him was at my house to do the Success Chronicles, and we talked and talked and talked, and then we realized, oh, we got other stuff we need to do. Kindred spirit, stayed in contact through the course of over the course of the years. And then the impact of influence. He said, "Look, I've got this project. We're putting together some really good folks, and you're a writer. Do you mind? Would you mind being a part of it?" 17, incredibly blessed, gifted man, and all of us reached a mutual plane that this wasn't about us, that we need to put this stuff out there for other folks. And as you said, the whole power of influence, being able to leave behind what you've learned, teaching of others, that is the actual definition of influence. As a matter of fact, Chip chose the title of my chapter, Influence Defined, which is, and anybody that coaches, they'll say, when I'm coaching one, I'm coaching all. And, I tell players that constantly, but the definition of influence is the result of purposeful force on anything or any person. It's the movement or change of standing in one thing or person due to intersection with one another. The impact is the next thing that happens after the intersection, and then the next thing and the next thing. And my chapter was written about my older brother, Rob, who was a track All-American, now in the ministry in Richmond, Virginia. But the things that he taught me, the things coaches and teachers taught me, became the things that I found myself using to coach my players. And then as my coach, and I've been coaching for a while, so some of my players are now coaches, and they coach in our voice. We coach in the voice of the people who led us, who taught us, who teach us. And that's what the book is about. It's 17 different stories, success, failure, friction, redirection, faith, believing in learning that it's not about us, but caring that it's not about us. That teaching, coaching, and all of that is really just a gift to greater, a gift to other. And that's what we're here for.
That's so good. So good, man. I mean, what a great explanation. And I'm glad you agreed to be a part of this today, because I know you're a busy radio host. And so, man, your words are going to mean, speak volumes to this next generation. And currently, like, you see athletes, college athletes, you're interacting with them, I would guess, on a regular basis up in Lincoln. And, you just mentioned your brother and some other folks. And so as we get into this, we're going to keep in mind, at the top of mind, that there's college athletes right now that are going through some things. They carry a pretty heavy load. And even the Christian athletes specifically, like, to walk their faith and balance their faith is a tall task. In certain areas or environments that they're in, it's hard to stand out in a positive way as a Christian today. So talk about maybe a leader that was impactful in your life. I mean, you played college baseball for a time, moving fast forward to now, you see a lot of leaders in that area of college athletics. What, to you, what are some of the best qualities?
We're all, every coach is a pool and a community of coaches. And ideally, if done right, we take the good things from each of those coaches, and then we use those, and then we put down the other. We also coach to how we wanted to be coached rather than how we were coached. For me, there's several, and I could view 30 coaches that I've crossed paths with. I'll speak to one in particular. I was 13 and I decided I wasn't going to play for the neighborhood football team. I was just like, okay, I'm not really feeling it. They're not going to play the way I want to play. So, I'm probably not going to play. And so I'm just in the neighborhood throwing the football with friends. And there's a police car that pulls up. And the car's sitting there. And they're watching, black kids back in the day, a police car with officers pull up, you're not real comfortable. You're not real sure what's going to happen. Except for that police officer waves me over. And he said, son, he goes, you're really talented. Why aren't you at football practice? And I said, well, I decided, I wasn't going to play, and now it's too late. He goes, well, what if it's not too late? And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I'm starting, fraternal order police. We're putting together a football team and I need players. And I think you do well by us. And I said, well, there's a bunch of stuff. And I'm not like, I don't really know you like that, but okay. And I said, well, why are you talking to me now? And he said, because you let me.
Wow.
And I went, okay. And he says, well, listen, here's my number. Have your mom call me. I'm going to pick you up and drop you off every day. I'll take care of you. You don't have to worry about it. I said, okay, let me see what this is. And every day for the next 3 months, he would pick me up and drop me off and drive through this black neighborhood in a police car. And then he figured out that we were making people less comfortable with the police car. Like, here's this black kid being dropped off by a police car.
Sure.
Maybe the wrong message being sent. And he said, but on those rides, he would teach me. He would tell me, okay, here's what to look for in this situation. There are good people and bad people in everything that you do. They're good men, they're bad men. They're good women, they're bad women. They're good policemen, they're bad policemen. I could tell you what to look for. And with your heart, you're going to be able to identify these really good folks. Well, because of those conversations, I trusted him and he trusted me. And he turned me into, it was the first time in my life that I was a star athlete. Like he catered this offense to me based on what he saw,
Mhm.
on a street out in front of my house.
Mhm.
And through the years, I always recall his ability to have conversations with me that weren't about the game itself. It was about the things that were more important. And he would say, "You're going to do something great, so I have to feed that."
Wow.
It's very powerful, right? That if somebody in a position of authority, somebody different from you, somebody bigger than you, right?
Mhm.
Bigger than
Yep.
you,
Yep.
feeds you with the power and the idea. They plant the seed and water it and say, greatness will come from this because it's what I know and what I see. And his name was Barry Larrabee, an Arlington County police officer just outside of DC. And we called him Bear. He was Coach Bear. Impacted my life in a way that, in the right way. And that's
Yeah.
how I want to impact folks is often I look different than the people I'm coaching. And I'm bigger than the people I'm coaching. So there's responsibility, right?
Yeah.
That happens from that. And then it's, oh, I can plant the seeds. And again, I've been coaching for over 30 years. And a lot of my first captains, the captains that I've had for my whole life, to this day, I call them captain. When I see them, if they're
Wow.
40 years old, it's captain. Hey, captain, how you doing,
Yeah.
brother?
Yeah.
So that's what we're here for. We're
Yep.
here to plant seeds,
That's good.
direct, plant ideas, good ideas, right? Good ideas,
Yeah. Yeah.
positive ideas, and with wisdom. And he was saying, listen, not everybody that wears this uniform is for you, and that's okay. But I can tell you which ones to look for.
Right.
And that empowered me, and it built in a level of trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not everybody trust. I had that trust, so I got to move forward, and I
Yeah.
carry it to this day.
That's awesome. What a great story. Golly, what a great story. And I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'm guessing that was 30 to 40 years ago in that
And that
range. And
was
man, and the fact that you are
1975.
still talking about this, man. And so to me, the point of that and how relatable it is to today's college athlete is there's those mentors out there, and those qualities in that guy for you are still applicable. They're timeless today. So it's investing, it's trusting, and it's encouraging and empowering. I mean, those four things are relatable today. And so I hope somebody, that athlete that hears this, understands, wow, there are people beyond my years that I look up to, that I can trust. There are people that are good, that want to plant healthy, positive seeds in me. That's the point of hearing that today's athlete, for you, if you're listening, that was for you. Something in that story was for you. So, man, what a great way to lead into this discussion. Thank you for sharing that. Man, so seeing the high profile athletes, I mean, let's face it, Lincoln, Nebraska, it's not a small time college atmosphere. It's not a small time institution. What are some of the biggest challenges? I bet you see a common theme for today's college athlete, and we don't have to be sports specific, but we can be football specific if you want. And I bet it's parallel throughout. If we dissect this, what are some of the challenges you're seeing Christian athletes face today?
Yeah, Lincoln, Nebraska. I mean, especially specifically the Nebraska football program is a blue blood program. I mean, it's got the old legacy,
Yep.
the two great reigns of championships, the iconic coaches. You talk about coaches with impact,
Oh yeah.
right? That Bob Devaney and Tom Osborne, who were both men who led from faith and
Yeah.
directed towards goodness. I'm not sure that they would have the success today that they had then, because they could isolate and have kids focus. Today's student athlete now has to learn how to boundary themselves from social media, from constant contact, immediate gratification. This is a microwave text, Twitter, Instagram, dating app era.
Yeah.
And you have to give people a boundary. You have to give young people a boundary. And it's to be patient. Good things are coming, but be patient. You don't need everything now. You don't need to date everybody now. That's not how. You don't need to go down the rabbit holes of the internet. The greatest issue, I found this out, the greatest issue for student athletes, whether it's college or high school, if you ask them why they didn't accomplish something, the response is, I simply do not have the time. And so for me, again, we're all a pool of coaches, and over the course of years, guys I've worked with, we came up with this study program, which is really life management, that every athlete, every student, whether 4.0 or 2.0, have the same 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 168 hours a week to accomplish whatever they want to accomplish. What they have not been told is to be aware of that time, how you use it, what do you give it to? And then for me as a coach, to constantly explain to them what's important has to be at the top of the list. And you'd be amazed at how much time they spend and go, well, I don't have time to study. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. The 6 hours that you spend on social media isn't going to help you qualify academically to play football.
Right.
Like that, there's the focus. I need to know how much time you spend in faith and with family and with friends. I need to know those things. So I wanted to help create a group of student athletes who, when they got to college or when they're in college, then they have a plan for how to manage their 168, how to manage their time. And it becomes, hey, coach, I'm struggling. Okay, let's go to the 168 and find out what we're doing with it. And I also give them, within that plan, is a plan that walks them through a constant engagement with the teachers or professors that they have. So imagine every Friday, every class that they have, every teacher that they have, every professor that they have, they sit with them for 5 minutes to go over, study. Here's a homework, here are the assignments, here are the projects due. They make notes. Teacher says, okay, you might have missed this thing. Let's go back over it.
Yeah.
It helps the teacher know that they're getting the message and that they care. The student gets the acknowledgement that, oh, I've got this right. I don't have to panic. I can relax. Or they can say, I need to redirect because I'm missing something. And each week, that check-in removes that 23rd hour of chaos. Oh my goodness, I've got a project due and I got to scramble. No, we don't work that way. To me, the college athlete now, with, again, social media, texting, dating apps, I'm old enough that I had to call somebody's house to get a date. Right? I had to call mom and dad.
Sure.
That's not how they're processing now. So giving them permission to set a boundary and then giving them a way to set a boundary are the two most important things. And it's a weird thing that I figured out was that the kids who bought into this study program boundary also played the game with the same level of discipline and a forethought. So it was weird. I've coached in all these states, 3 different sports in all these states. 78% of my kids carry a GPA of 3.5 or higher.
Oh, wow.
A weird thing happens when kids become disciplined off the field.
Well,
they become disciplined on the field, and I've won 78% of my games.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, and you've heard it too before. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And just like a financial budget, right? You either let your money tell you what to do or you tell it what to do. And just like time, you tell it what to do, not reactionary, be a puppet, with your time mastering the strings, right? So, man, what a great perspective. And I love that plan. So what would you say to a college, an athlete, a Christian athlete? Like, I know FCA is probably has a heavy presence up there. Different chaplains and you even, I know you're carving out that faith time in your 168. In your personal experience, help the audience relate to DP and his experiences. Was there a defining moment either in college or just in your life spiritually where maybe you can say, the light went on of how I know I can walk this, like I'm bought in, but I'm bought in to the degree that in a group of people where I may be outnumbered, I'm still willing to stand out. I'm still willing to be uncommon and represent my faith. What are you seeing out there, and what did you experience in your life?
There are several, and I'll go through them quickly. One, there's a phase in my life where I lived with my grandmother, and she was a woman of deep, strong faith. And so my weekend carved in paying attention to her peace and calm.
Yeah.
The love that she walked from and worked from. I'm not sure I can think of a single woman who loved and was loved by as many people as my grandmother. My older brother, who again became a minister and a man of faith, and went to pick a university that was faith-based, and so I got to watch that. For me, the moment of faith that puts me where I am today is through coaching, decades of wear and tear on the body. I was told that we've got to fix it. We've got to fix it. Spinal fusion, giving your spine to doctors is pretty life altering. Yep. The surgery was botched. I was punctured. I woke up. I had 27 blood clots. Now, normally you hear somebody who passes away post-surgery, right, from complications. Usually it's blood clots. I had 27. One will kill you. I had 27. Of the 27, I had 3 in my heart and 4 in my lungs. And along with that is this thing called a widowmaker, which allowed the blood clots to form in my heart. The saddle embolism, it wrapped itself around my bronchial stem to choke me out. I had said to that point, I've lived a pretty full life. Like before that day, I was like, you know what? I've lived 100 lives, man. If God takes me today, I'm good with it. I've lived several people's lives. But on that day, the conversation changed because I said, give me one more day. Just give me one more day, because I can't leave my wife this way. I can't leave my daughter this way. I'm not done yet. And I said I've lived full, but I'd like one more day. Chaplain sitting on my bed in ICU, doctors saying, their collective 90 years of experience, that we've never had anybody beat this. We've never had anybody beat this. So for those days, I was afraid to go to sleep, because that's how it would get you, is it let you go to sleep. And then every day I would wake up and I would say thank you first. Yeah. And then at the end of the night, I would say these 2 things to myself: well done, and then thank you. Yeah. Because all I asked for was one more day. And since that day, every day, this morning included, you say thank you, say thank you. At the end of the day, I will say well done, to get through it, because he heard me, he paid attention, he blessed me with it, he gifted me with it. And in that time since then, I've had to find ways to give that back. And LovePrints was the ministry that came to mind, which simply says that we're going to love and learn through sports, because I was coaching heavy at the time. But that people within that, my responsibility is simple: to love you. If we cross paths and we intersect, it's my job to leave you more covered in love than when we intersected. That requires action. Love requires action, but action also requires love. And together they can accomplish anything that you can dream of, imagine, hope for. But they count on one another, they rely on one another. The heart is love, the hand is action. The logo for the LovePrints is a heart and a hand.
Yeah.
And it simply says, love without action is good, but it doesn't accomplish anything. Action without love doesn't accomplish anything good.
Yeah.
But together, whether we're coaching, whether we're parenting, whether we're partnering, together, you're gonna be pretty good.
That's really good. I love that. And I was looking at some of that, doing a little research on that. It's a really powerful ministry. And to paraphrase Jesus and his words, I mean, the way they're going to know you're my disciples is how you love each other. So the way they're going to know about us as Christians, and the way we're going to have that sort of magnetic component to our personality, and win people into that curiosity about faith, is to just exhibit love, and not just talk about it, but what you said, action. And so, I mean, that's a powerful perspective. I watch, I've got a son about to graduate, played 4 years of college baseball. I've got another one in college playing baseball, and I watch they grew up in church, and I watch them try to own their faith now and make it their own, right? It's not mine anymore, it's theirs. And so watching that throughout, and I understand there are challenges, there are pulls in that college environment as an athlete, especially. There are things that are pulling you in different directions. And so our goal here is to just let people know you can win, you can walk in faith, you can be an example. And I think what you're talking about is evidence of that. So, if you were an incoming freshman today, and you were a high profile athlete at the University of Nebraska, of all places, what advice, and you're probably giving it now, but what advice would you give yourself coming in that transition? Because relationships start over. We reboot as young people, an 18-year-old moving into a new college, landscape, new relationships. We're resetting, rebooting those connections. What advice do you have for an 18-year-old version of yourself?
Set a GPS. Set your GPS. It's always, to me, there's a thing that I tell my players and coaches all the time, that you will have doubts and you will have questions, but when in doubt, love first, love last, and in between, love more. That through that, anywhere you are, whoever you are, whatever version of you exists, is where the beginning of the GPS will ask you, okay, it'll tell you, this is where you are. And then you have to have a plan. You can't go anywhere good without purpose or mission. You have to know direction. And if you're not sure which way to go, forward and up is the way to go, because that's where love is.
Yeah.
And the only way to get there is to have the GPS constantly say, you are headed towards love. You are acting in love. Because the GPS will also tell you, hey, you said you were going towards love. It appears that you were idling. Or, hey, you have detoured from the great mission.
Yeah.
And if you have the mission, you have to set the GPS. I have to say every day, I have to ignore things on social media that draw me into angst, anger, all of that. I can just walk by it, because that's just an exit that's not mine to take. Like, I can just drive by it, like, nope, I'm not going there. That's not where I'm going. Young people need to remember, set the plan. Tell us what you do. Why are you here? I'm here to play baseball and get my degree. Okay, so everything is after that. Everything as a priority, as a choice, as a decision is after that. It has to be after that. Where in there are you representing your family's name? Where in there are you representing your own name, carving your own name, crafting your own name? All of those are required. That's what I tell them.
Yeah.
Tell me where you're going to go, and I'll tell you whether you can get there or not.
And man, you mentioned something key in that. I heard you talk about those potential exits that weren't meant for you. Those are the distractions, right? And these kids have so many distractions. I mean, adults have plenty of distractions, but I can only imagine somebody like a student athlete in the college realm is dealing with just as many as anybody. And so, man, I hear you talk about that, and it's important that they establish, like you said, part of that GPS is establishing what those things are that are non-negotiable ahead of time. Like you're gonna, make those decisions about, man, if I'm in this party environment or I'm in this, or that I don't even get there because I know that's going to be a temptation and a potential exit along the way. I already am telling myself ahead of time, that's not for me. Instead of waiting till you get to that point of making the decision and flipping a coin and deciding, oh, do I do it? Do I not? It's already been established. So just like you and I, when we plug in something into our GPS, it's been established where we're going and what exit we're, how many miles down the road that is. It's not going to tell me all these other ones that aren't meant for me. So what a perfect way to say that. Set your GPS of those non-negotiables that are not wavering. They're unshakable. You've already made that decision before you've been given the opportunity. And I think that's huge because we're in a society where kids are saying, I'm just going to fly by the seat of my pants, let the wind take me where it takes me, and whatever feels good in that moment is what I'm going to do. You have anything to add to that?
You only live once. That whole
Right.
YOLO
Of
thing.
course.
And I said, you only live once, but you should live it well.
Yeah.
You should live it well. Again, can't take this exit because there's anger over there. You can't take that exit, fear over there. My curiosity can't take me on that.
Yeah.
My curiosity has to be influence-based, positive influence-based.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's an interesting looking neighborhood. Maybe not.
Right.
Maybe not. Keep going.
Yeah.
But giving young people enough, John, if you give young people enough reason to love themselves, love yourself enough to do right. When I have players that say, well, I love this game, coach. Do you love it enough to treat it right? Do you love it enough to do right by it? That requires work. That requires consistency. In your personal life, it's like, oh, I love her, coach. You have to act like you love it. And that is a statement that I love myself.
Yeah.
The love you give is a statement of the greatest
absolutely
identifier is how you love. And that's what we tell kids all the time. Listen,
absolutely.
Don't get caught up in that other thing. Look, and my testimony is not that I don't know that other thing. But I say this all the time. I made my mistake. You don't have to.
Absolutely. That's exactly why I have this. That's exactly why I did this, right? I mean, to learn, and I tell my kids, look, God gave you parents, not just to pay for stuff and put a roof over your head. I've got the answers to the test. I'm handing them to you. I've walked this. I'm telling you what not to do, but I understand they got to experience and make their own mistakes. But man, wouldn't you want to make as little mistakes as possible based on what I've done?
I mean, I don't ask for perfection because I don't live perfection. But I ask is that you do not hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Don't hurt. Like I've got scars and I don't want you to share my scars. I want you to share the experience of the scar. I want you to know how I got it and what the decision was and what I had to do to overcome that. I don't look at scars. They're here. That's a life lived, but those are lessons. And I don't want you, the one thing as a parent is I don't want you to make the same mistakes I made. Yeah. That's when we've crossed the line and I have to stand up and go, no, we've been here before. We're not doing it again.
Yeah. So hey, man, this has been awesome. But as we close, I've got one kind of impact statement. I want you to finish the sentence for me. I want you to think of maybe a couple of the best captains or leaders that you're around on a regular basis in sports right now, and finish the sentence for them too, like for what you observe, like those people made an impact in their teammates' lives because
they cared. Because they cared. I've had the blessing of being offered to do two TEDx's. The first one was Sport Heroes. And I could have chosen one of 1,000 stories, but I chose two captains. One who is now a Fairfax County police officer. So again, the circle of a police officer helping me and me coaching a kid to become a police officer. But the great conversation we ever had was his resistance to me as a new coach, and my pulling him to the side and go, say what you, get everything off your chest, get everything clear, because he said, well, this is how things go here. And I'm like, okay. And I asked him to lead the study program, and he's like, well, no, we don't need it. This is the smartest school in the state. And I said, does everybody have your academic record? And he goes, no. I said, do you think that this would help them? Yeah. Because as leaders, don't you think we should lead that? We should help them? He goes, you don't need the help. I don't need the help, but they need us. And I need for you to lead them. Change the entire trajectory of two lives in one conversation, because that captain then began to lead, thinking about what his teammates needed, what the people following him needed every day. It was no longer about him and how he felt. It was about him leading them to the greater them. And that's every great captain. As a matter of fact, that's how I choose my captains. The people who love and care about their teammates the most. I don't necessarily choose the best athlete. I choose the best human.
That's huge. And why I love all this unique perspective of a different guest every time on this show, because that is a unique response that you've noticed. Because I bet if I asked that athlete, I don't know if they would necessarily say that they consider themselves to be overly the most caring in the room, but you noticed an attribute in that person. So I think that's important to know for an athlete. Look, people see things in you you may not see in yourself. And that is some of those gifts that God gave you for leadership. And so it's impactful to get around the right people. I think, we didn't talk a lot about, but in a way we did, but get around the right people, right? That you can bless and that can help encourage you to become somebody you don't even see in yourself.
That's everything, because that's what was done for me. I was a poor Black kid until police officer or fire chief or an insurance salesman put their hand on my shoulder and said, go forward and up, all of that. So it's my responsibility, because I now know that works, to use those things to lead people forward. And that's what we do.
That's awesome, man. It's been a pleasure, man. DP, tell them about where they can find your show. Tell them about where they can find your book and any other resources that if they want to reach out and try to wrap their arms around some of this awesome knowledge that you've got.
And I am an open book. I have presented the study program to schools all over the country, colleges and high schools. So, I come in and give you the 168, and I track with you the entire time. So these schools never have to ask, hey, we don't understand something. I don't do that. The company is LovePrints, LovePrints.us. It's LovePrints.us. On there, the book is available. Contact information is available. The radio show is 93.7 The Ticket in Lincoln, Nebraska, KNTK. We're on 11 to 2 Central Time. You'll find any given day, you'll find NBA players, former coaches, current coaches at the University of Nebraska and around the country. All of my social media is my name. It's just at Derrick Pearson for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm easy to find as well. Just reach out. If you're a coach, if you're a student, if you're a parent, the study program includes the parents. They check in with the teacher, and then they bring it and share it with you. And at the end of each week, I have signatures from all the parents and all the teachers on the same form, agreeing to work and guide this person in the GPS of them getting this right.
Wow. That's how it works, man. That's how it's more than just words or more than just a fancy business plan. I mean, you've got practical, tactical, tangible ways to monitor progress. And I think that's huge, man. I thank you on behalf of the audience, DP. I mean, I know you're busy. I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's been powerful. I've enjoyed getting to know you a little more, and I know the audience has too. Audience, college athlete, I know there are some things in your life you can plug in what DP said. You can plug in the love component. You can plug in the planning component and your GPS. Check what your GPS looks like. Get somebody you trust involved in the process of planning. And man, I think this is huge. There's going to be lives changed. College athlete, you're going to walk away different than you came in. So with that, be blessed.